In this edition of the Aimpoint Hunts the Globe series, former world strongman and experienced hunter Magnus Samuelsson travels to southern Africa to hunt one of the fiercest of all mammals, the Cape buffalo.
I've been in Africa a few times before, but I never had the privilege to go hunt here, and this opportunity came up through one of the companies I work together with, Aimpoint, which makes a product that we use when we hunt back home. Thanks to Aimpoint I'm here, and I'm really looking forward for this. It's a privilege just to be here. I really love Africa and the whole nature and all the animals to see it, and to have the chance to go out and hunt one of the mightiest of them all, the buffalo. So all in all, excited.
Widely known as the Widowmaker, this bovine species can attain a shoulder height of 1.7 meters and weigh up to 900 kilograms. The combination of extreme size and legendary attitude makes the Cape buffalo one of the most dangerous animals in the world, and is reported to kill more humans than any other species on the continent. Magnus Samuelsson will face the biggest challenge of his hunting career, Africa's Black Death. Magnus is joined by Hunt Essential CEO BLERK and award-winning South African artist and avid hunter BLERK.
Aimpoint is honestly one of those products where you, when you use it the first time, you actually ask yourself, why did it take yourself so long to use it the first time? And what makes it even more fantastic is that you can marry this product with some unbelievable products, for example, like we used during this hunt, which is the BLERK S2 side-by-side rifle. The rails that's been designed specifically by BLERK for the Aimpoint. This specific Aimpoint optic is the H1. Just works fantastically in tandem. I mean, if you put the rifle in your shoulder, it automatically lines up immediately with the optic and the target that you want to shoot at. That working in tandem very well makes the chances for mistakes so much less. When you're hunting dangerous game, that's imperative. Coming to the ammunition we're using, in this case we were using normal ammunition, probably the PH range recently designed by Norma, and Oryx range absolutely fantastic. We were using 458 lot as a backup rifle and 375. In the case of a 375 we're using a 300 grain bullet. Oryx, as I said, from Norma, and on the 458 we're using the 458 lot with a 500 grain bullet. Fantastic stopper rifle when you need it in a tight situation.
Upon arrival, the team wasted no time before heading down to the shooting range.
Good day and welcome. My name is BLERK and I'm your host for the Aimpoint African Hunt series. We are currently situated near Phalaborwa in Limpopo province at Lily Lodge in South Africa. In this series we're going to show you the practicalities of hunting with an Aimpoint in African circumstances. On my left hand side we are very privileged to have the former world strongman champion Magnus Samuelsson, who will be hunting his first buffalo in this episode. Magnus, welcome to South Africa.
Thank you, Brock, for having me and hosting me to my first ever buffalo hunt. I heard so much about it, I just can't wait to get going.
Great stuff. On his left hand side we got BLERK from Hunt Essential, who will be leading this hunt and tell us more about the guns and the application of Aimpoint.
So what we're going to use for this buffalo hunt is a 375 BLERK side-by-side, and with it the Aimpoint. What's very important in a buffalo hunt is that everybody feels and is secure in all cases. And it starts with very simple things. It starts, for example, with the weapon that you're going to use and the optic in this case that we've decided. In both cases, with the BLERK S2 side-by-side and most importantly with the Aimpoint, it's equipment that basically cuts out any mistakes, especially when you are in high pressure situations, which most probably you will have. So Magnus, let's start with the BLERK S2 side-by-side. The most important feature of this rifle is the fact that the safety mechanism is a foolproof system, really. You always know in all circumstances where the shot is. So for example, let's say hypothetically speaking we were loaded up right now and we would assume the target. The first and most simple thing that you will do, if I tell you that we are in position and you should take your shot, you just push the cock forward and you are basically loaded up. Should the situation at that stage change for whatever the reason is, you can just simply push it down and the rifle will be completely safe, as the pin inside will be completely relaxed. So very foolproof, very simple. It's a double triggered rifle. So the first trigger is your right barrel, your back trigger is your left barrel. Simple as that. Now what perfectly balances with a rifle, of course, is then the Aimpoint H1. What makes it very fantastic is the fact that it's a red dot sight where you just put the dot on the right place and pull the trigger. You don't have to worry about parallax. If the red dot is not centered as you would normally find with normal red dots, it doesn't matter. You just put it on the spot and you can shoot it. We're going to hunt in an environment that's Mopani veld, so most probably the shot is going to be a close range shot. So, and that makes even the Aimpoint more as a reactive type of sight very applicable. Lift it, put it on the target, and if my instruction to you is fire, please do accordingly. So let's go and take a few shots, get yourself comfortable with it, especially with the mechanism, especially with the Aimpoint, and then I think we will be in a position to hunt a good buffalo.
Sounds great.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Let's go.
With his first shot, Magnus demonstrates his skill with a large caliber rifle and effortlessly evaporates the first and second targets with the Blaster 375. Boys will be boys, and the sight and sound of the exploding water bottles impressed all present.
Well, Magnus, when it's people come and hunt big game with us, we're always nervous. But after seeing that shooting exhibition, I can tell you my heart rate has dropped a little bit. Thank you very much for that. So how do you feel? Are you ready for it?
Yeah, it's a way bigger toy than I usually play with back home, but this feels like a perfect setup. This feels very comfortable to shoot with and just lays there perfect.
Well, that's very important, and I'm glad you already got used to my girlfriend, so let's go.
With the sun's last light setting in the west, the hunters retire to the lodge to prepare for the first day's hunt. Shortly after daybreak, the group departed to an area where a large group of male animals were spotted earlier. The guide picks up a fresh track, and with an estimated 1 hour's difference between the hunters and the herd, the group sets off in pursuit. The track leads around a granite hill, and the scouts decide to use this vantage point to see if they can spot the herd.
Yeah, so got some fresh tracks down at the bottom of this hill. The wind, typically in August, swirling a little bit around, which does allow us to keep an unfortunate straight line. So we're trying to outsmart them a little bit by cutting down the wind, coming up behind this outcrop here, giving us a little bit of height and the opportunity to see a little bit further. So yeah, let's just try and stay on this line, and hopefully the opportunity will come up for a nice buffalo.
Without any visual confirmation of their quarry, the group have to depend solely on the skills of Morris the tracker. Almost 3 hours after picking up the tracks for the first time, a shadow-like object moving slowly ahead alerts the hunters to the presence of the buffalo herd.
The first time I saw the buffalo, it was quite surprising. We were walking along tracks, and just out of nowhere they were standing there. It's amazing how well they blend into nature here. You expect the 1 ton beast to be easy to spot, but man, it's really, really hard. And also, we came quite close to them before we saw them, and the size and might of it all is something else.
The August winds seemed to favor the animal, as a sudden change in the wind direction alerted the buffalo to the hunter's presence. This encounter was to be the first and last sighting that the group would have that day, and after a further 7 unsuccessful hours on the herd's trail, everyone knew that this was not going to be an easy hunt.
My name is Eric Jeppson. I'm a Senior Sales Director for Aimpoint. Aimpoint is a company that produces the world-famous red dot optics. Today in the world there is a lot of red dot manufacturers, but what makes Aimpoint unique is the parallax-free system that is utilized both in military, sports shooting and especially for hunting. We are here in Africa to hunt dangerous game with Magnus Samuelsson for the buffalo that he's going to take. And I'm going to introduce you to the sight that we're going to utilize. It is the Aimpoint micro sight. We have all the similar sights are built in the same way. The unique part about an Aimpoint system is the red dot that you have inside. And what makes it unique is that you don't have to center the red dot in the system. A lot of other manufacturers where you don't have the same construction, you need to center the red dot in the sight to be able to take a shot. If that red dot is off a little bit, that means that you will miss a target, and you would not like to do that, especially on a buffalo hunt. Aimpoint standard is that you can have the dot high, low, left or right. The main goal for you as a hunter is that you focus on your target instead of your reticle. So the focus should be on the game, and you just place that red dot on the game. And you always use your 2 eyes open. That gives you the much wider view of the situation. And here, whether it's bushy, it's close, the scenario changes. You need to have an optic that can stand up for a lot of punishments also. Aimpoint civilian sights are built to the military standard that we do with all our other military products. And that means that even if you get a punch to the sight, it will still stand up for the abuse. Especially here where we have the joint configuration together with the blaster, which sits directly interface to the barrel. This marriage here is a very stable platform for you.
Daybreak on the second day, and it seemed that Magnus's luck was changing when they spotted a solitary bull at the foot of a hill. To increase their chances, Louis suggested that they use the granite hill as cover to approach the unsuspecting animal.
Okay, so it's nice and early this morning, a bit of cloud cover which is not perfect, but the wind is blowing very favorably. Managed to find a nice bull, nice drop, nice hard. So we're just going to try and use the environment to the best of our ability. Try and get Magnus into a nice position, and also to make sure that the shot that he can put will be a good shot. So let's just see what the guys come back. We don't want to all run up the hill. So let's just go, we'll just send up the scouts to come back and tell us how it went. So we see how that all goes.
Unfortunately, a group of baboons perched on the top of the hill above the hunters made their disapproval known by alerting every animal within hearing distance of the hunters' movements.
It's early morning the second day, and pretty much immediately we spotted a big bull laying next to this mountain, so we tried to get it from the backside. We were almost there when it was really getting intense, and for some reason it spotted us and slowly walked off. But it was like this close. If this would have worked out, it would have been absolutely perfect, because we would have been up in the hills, and it looked great because it should be easier to sneak up on it, and the wind was in our favor and everything. I don't really know a good excuse why he hurt us. Maybe being just clumsy, I guess. I guess we will try to follow in the trails of that bull that just walked off. I'm also guessing that we know where it's headed, or at least at which direction, so maybe we'll try to go in front of it and wait for it. But we will see what the boss says when he gets back. Really a great morning. Great.
The fact that the buffalo was walking and not running indicated that the group might be able to track down this particular animal.
We've been hunting for almost 2 days now. Not as easy as some people would think, and taking all the elements into consideration, the wind and the weather changing, this has been a difficult hunt so far.
An hour later, the bull's hoofprints were obscured by many other tracks, indicating that the animal had joined a much larger herd. A change in wind direction meant that an approach from the rear would be impossible, and the decision is made to leave the trail and try to ambush the herd somewhere in the direction that they were headed. A fairly large anthill makes for a good position to set up an ambush, and with the unsuspecting herd heading in their direction, the hunters prepare themselves for contact. The lead animals, consisting of cows and calves, appear no more than 30 meters away from the anthill. The tension is mounting, and Magnus stands at the ready, aimpoint in hand, anxiously waiting for the right animal to come into range. The wind that is normally the hunter's ally was swirling and changed direction frequently, and the animal's keen sense of smell prevented the hunters from getting close enough to take a shot.
Well, everything actually worked out quite nicely. It's just unfortunate that the wind turned on us, but quite a big hurt. Obviously a little bit skeptical because the wind, as much as the wind is turning, it's also turning for them as well. So they're not entirely sure which direction all these smells are coming from. So they obviously did the first thing that they'll do in a situation like that, and that's run.
The second time we came up to the buffalo was the closest so far. Actually, it became really intense. One of the biggest bulls were maybe 5 meters away from me to have a shot at it, and it was a massive adrenaline going on in the body right then.
So close but no cigar. So let's get going and see what we can find.
Africa seemed unwilling to surrender one of her own, and after 2 hard days of hunting, the hunters returned to the lodge, wondering if Magnus would return to Sweden empty-handed. Day 3. The last day of the hunt dawned, and the hunters were up before daybreak. With 2 unsuccessful days behind them, there was tension in the air as they set off in search of a new track. There was no sign of the wind, and the leaves hung motionless in the acacia trees. Morris was looking for fresh signs of buffalo activity, and their big break came around 9 o'clock that morning. Fresh buffalo dung and a trail left by 6 bulls lifted the spirits, and soon the 2 days prior were forgotten. Morris led the way and the group followed closely, making sure of their footing so not to alert the bulls to their presence. The animals had a lead of less than 500 meters, and with the hunters making good progress, the unthinkable happened. Louis stopped for a moment to glance the trail up ahead and noticed that the herd of bulls were now facing the hunters and rapidly closing the gap between hunter and quarry. The bulls had swung around 180 degrees from their initial direction and were seemingly backtracking onto their own trail. The wind held a steady course, and Louis guided Magnus into a position where a good bull stood. The animal was ranged at 90 meters, making for quite a long shot in terms of buffalo hunting. The bull stood facing Magnus, its torso just visible between the Mopani brush. Magnus steadied his weapon and carefully guided the aimpoint red dot to the bull's center mass. With his heart racing in his chest, Magnus placed his finger on the trigger and steadied his trembling hands to take the shot. The shot rang out loudly into the African sky, and an audible thud and the reaction of the bull indicated a solid hit on the animal. Magnus holds his position with the rifle and Aimpoint ready to defend the group. The herd ran off and silence filled the air.
All of a sudden we spotted, like, it was hard to say how many, like 4 or 5 big buffaloes, and we were crawling around trying to get a good view on them, and I could easily see that one were a really huge one. But because he was standing behind trees and bushes the whole time, it was so hard to really tell if it was possible to shoot at it. And all of a sudden this slightly younger bull came up and started to look at us. And we've been so close so many times during these 2 days. So I was sure that he was just going to look at us for 2-3 seconds, and then we're going to see the buffalo ass again, because that's how fast it goes. So we decided very quick to take the shot. So we went down, put the gun took some support from a branch, and just tried to take the shot as fast as possible, because like I said, you never know, it could be over very quick. So even though this situation was not really the one I was expecting to come into, we were having like 90 meters up to the bull, and I was also in a hurry. But using Aimpoint it's in this situation very good, because it's so easy to find the target. So we basically from when we decided to go, it only took a couple of seconds to find the target and pull the trigger. So for me, this is actually the first time I ever shot at an animal straight from the front, and it was quite some distance to it. So I felt it was a good shot, and being unexperienced on buffaloes, I could not really tell by the reaction what really happened, how it really went, but I had a confident feeling about it. We waited some minutes before we went in, and then we started to track. And because there were so many bulls in there, we were following different tracks and looking for blood and so on, and it took us a bit of time before one of the trackers started to whistle and call upon us, and the buffalo actually really close by was standing up and starting to run off. So I fired two more rounds for it to go down, and that was that.
Nice. Woo! Kept us busy, this buffalo.
What can I say? The whole trip has been just fantastic, and together with nice company, being able to experience something like this is just fantastic. Also really glad about the shot, and that it was a quick kill. Hunting is supposed to be quick kills, no suffering for the animals, and everything went well. So I'm really pleased. The one that was standing behind the tree was like a gigantic beast.
Yeah, he had the typical do-bell and all that stuff, but anyway, it doesn't matter.
No.
We took the best bull that was available to us. So, and look, it's a hard boss bull, as you can see, a little bit of soft hairs in the middle of it, but like two knuckles joined together, it's really right up there. Once again, I mean, shows you you engine roomed it from the front.
Also, I think the Aimpoint helps a lot in this environment, because it's really hard to judge distances without it. So you just open both eyes, put the spot on where you want it, and trust it.
No, I fully agree. I think the second shot that you took through this Mupani shrub, it would be impossible for somebody with an enlargement optic to in any way get focus or anything like that. And that's where you have to trust the sight. So you put that dot on the sight. It's Christmas in August.
Yeah, and it's, for me, I could never imagine that they were this shy and this hard to get close to. I mean, we've been tracking this one for some time, and you expect them to be easy to find just because they're so massive. Unbelievable hard.
Yeah, like we discussed yesterday, it's a complete black animal if you compare it. We're hunting in a khaki beige environment with red leaves, and this thing being as black as it is, it's tough to find.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
A sense of awe filled everyone present, and we give thanks to the Dark Continent for giving us one of her beloved sons. After 3 days of difficult hunting, Magnus finally has the chance to pose with the animal that had been his lifelong dream. Sincerus Käfer, the Cape buffalo. In this edition of the Aimpoint Hunts the Globe series, former world's strongest man and experienced hunter Magnus Samuelsson travels to southern Africa to face one of Africa's toughest hunting challenges, the African bush pig. This species is indigenous to many southern African regions, and in recent years a population explosion forced the pig colonies to expand their range deeper into the interior. This move benefited the pigs, as beyond the horizon lay fertile farmlands where thousands of hectares of maize and other crops lay waiting. Under ideal conditions, sows can produce 2 to 3 litters of piglets per year, and adult animals can weigh up to 150 kilograms. The abundance of food and shelter and the increase in bush pig numbers resulted in massive crop damage and losses, which currently run into several millions of dollars annually. When not feeding, the pigs bed into dense bush where it is almost impossible for any human to enter. The only effective way to control their numbers is to use hounds to flush the pigs from the bedding areas and to hunt them with rifles. Many of the shots happen at close quarters, making the Aimpoint sights an essential addition to any pig hunter's equipment. On this hunt, Magnus is joined by Hunt Essential CEO Louis Bierkus and award-winning South African artist and experienced hunter Bok van BLERK.
Hunting of the African bush pig with hounds is not as easy as it sounds. They are normally in the thicket, in the very thickest of bush. That's where they are going to be. The guys must be prepared to be able to walk through the thicket of bush and downhill, uphill, into the ravines. This is where we're going to find the pigs. Morning guys, we're going on this pig hunting. Please don't shoot my dogs. And don't shoot your mate next to you.
Well, it's early morning. We are on the way out for bush pig hunting, and I've heard so much about this. And the guys have been trying to scare me up now for a few days. So I'm really looking forward to this one and see what it's all about. And normally there is no smoke without a fire, so I'm prepared for a really exciting day.
Everyone is going to get a radio. When we get to the point where you get off the truck, you switch on your radio, make sure it's on channel 1, and all of us can hear, and we can explain to you where to go, how it's going to work, and we take it from there.
Enjoy the hunt.
The hunters start the day in a valley that is covered in thick vegetation. The strategy is to herd the pigs into the corner of the ravine and into the waiting aimpoint sights of the hunters placed strategically and on top of the hill. The steep gradient limits the movement of the hunters and would hopefully also prohibit the escape of any pig that the dogs might find in the thicket.
There is a leader dog, actually 2 of them, and they will outrun us easily. There's 10 dogs with tracking collars on, so that we can at least see where are the dog. That will make it much easier for us. There is one chap up top with a GPS also, so if the dogs are going over the mountain, we're going to lose them. It's going to take us half an hour to get on top of the mountain. There's somebody else with the GPS on top so that they can say, okay, there are the dogs. Let's go. Have a good time.
It's first light, and with all the hunters in position, Magnus and Flip release the pack of hounds. The dense bush makes moving difficult, and within 2 minutes, the dogs have a significant lead to the hunters. With very little visible movement, they can only pinpoint the position of the dogs by listening to their howls in the valley below.
We just started hunting about 20 minutes ago.
It's quite chaos. The terrain is very difficult. The dogs have picked up a lot of pigs. They've bait a pig down there. Let's just hope Magnus is close by to take the shot. We're standing on top here, preventing them from coming over the hill here. So let's see what happens.
THORBJORN Samuelsson, the brother of Magnus, tried to get in front of the pack of hounds. A sounder of pigs are flushed from the thicket and two individuals break away towards the corner of the ravine.
We started the day with 30 minutes more or less hill climb, and the problem here is 2,000 meters above sea level, so it's really tough walking here. And we're now on top of the hill. The pigs have been really close to us once, and we're now waiting for the dogs and the pigs to make a bow and come back, which they hopefully will within.
Although he has been the world's strongest man, the African bush cuts people down to size.
Welcome to Africa, sir.
Don't forget the altitude, Magnus, don't feel that bad.
Yeah, it's awful the first. I compared it here in the past. Same thing the first week.
550 meters, they're coming back. Where the arrow is with a black dot, that's where the dogs are. $700 meters towards the sun. This is where they are. Let's go fetch them. Shots don't scare these pigs. If there's one or two shots that's been fired on pigs, the other ones won't run away. They will charge. Especially when there's small pigs involved, the piglets, they stay with the male pig, and he's normally the aggressive one. It outruns a dog, and it is built like a bullet in the thickest of bush. It just runs right through the bush. So one must be very careful. That's when enough gun must be used to stop these pigs, because they can do severe damage to you.
Not far from Flip and THORBJORN, a sudden change in the dog's howls indicate that the dogs have made contact with a bush pig. This particular pig was extremely aggressive, attacking the dogs viciously. To avoid serious injury to himself and the dogs, the handler had to take the shot before THORBJORN and MARTIENS arrived on the scene.
Okay, so this has been a really exciting hunt. We've been close to the pigs many times, and they passed us, and we've seen the dogs and heard the pigs. And after running up and down this hill a few times, the dog sprayed the pig and actually started to bite on one of the dogs, so the dog handler has to finish the pig. It has been an extremely experience for me and a really exciting hunt.
My name is Eric Jepson. I'm a senior sales director for Aimpoint. Aimpoint is a company that produces the world famous red dot optics. Today in the world there is a lot of red dot manufacturers, but what makes Aimpoint unique is the parallax-free system that is utilized both in military, sports shooting, and especially for hunting. We are here in Africa to hunt dangerous game with Magnus Samuelsson for the buffalo that he's going to take. And I'm going to introduce you to the site that we're going to utilize. It is the Aimpoint microsite. We have all the similar sites are built in the same way. The unique part about an Aimpoint system is the red dot that you have inside. And what makes it unique is that you don't have to center the red dot in the system. A lot of other manufacturers, where you don't have the same construction, you need to center the red dot in the sight to be able to take a shot. If that red dot is off a little bit, that means that you will miss a target, and you would not like to do that, especially on a buffalo hunt. Aimpoint standard is that you can have the dot high, low, left or right. The main goal for you as a hunter is that you focus on your target instead of your reticle. So the focus should be on the game, and you just place that red dot on the game. And you always use your two eyes open. That gives you the much wider view of the situation. And here, whether it's bushy, it's close, the scenario changes. You need to have an optic that can stand up for a lot of punishments also. Aimpoint civilian sights are built to the military standard that we do with all our other military products. And that means that even if you get a punch to the sight, it will still stand up for the abuse. Especially here where we have the joint configuration together with the blaster, which sits directly interfaced to the barrel. this marriage here is a very stable platform for you.
The tracking collars on the hounds is Garmin dog tracking collars, where we can locate the dogs even if they are in the thick bush up to 5 or 10 kilometers. We can see and locate the dogs. The colored are training collars, which we can control the dogs if there's anything that they are not allowed to chase in the which they are hunting. We can call them back, or whenever they go too far, we can give them a light choke and they will come back. This is the first pig that had to be shot. It was starting to bite the dogs. Dog handler had to shoot the pig before the dogs got hurt.
With the first pig down, Flip rallies the hounds and the hunt commences.
We're running around, up and down. These dogs are chasing these pigs everywhere. Never got in range to shoot one. Seen one or two, but they're very fast and the environment and the bush is quite thick. See what happens. Today we're out here hunting bush pig and it's quite exciting. A lot of dogs, a lot of action. It's quite a beautiful morning, a little bit windy, but we have had some encounters. We've been close by them, but they have tricked us all morning. So we continue hunting now for a while more before the sun hits the sky and we have to go in for lunch.
When the dogs find the pigs, the sounder, then the bark changes. We will also see on the GPS that the dogs are standing.
You must get to the dogs. The sooner the better. Make sure you stay with the dog handler. It's not always easy, but that's the way to do it.
In the meantime, Magnus made his way up the mountainside where he met Louis. The hounds were on a fresh trail and the direction they were headed suggested that the pig wanted to go over the ridge, hopefully to where Magnus and Louis were waiting. As luck would have it, the dogs bayed the boar only a couple of 100 meters from the hunter's position. With only the howling sounds of the dogs to guide them, they made their way through the thick brush to the dog's position. The pig had its back to the wall and was surrounded by the pack of hounds. The fight, however, was far from over, and the pig made several rushes into the hounds, slashing at their flanks with exposed tusks. The thick brush and the position of the hounds around the bush pig made for an extremely difficult shot, but a final attack to the hound closest to Magnus created a small window of opportunity for the strong man to put the red dot on the animal and take the shot.
How was that, Magnus?
Very intense game this is, and also to run up and down these hills is almost worse than the world's strongest man.
I just want to remark that this is not water, it's hard work sweat. Well done. And then once again, look at the positioning of the dogs parallel to where Magnus took his shot. Talking about 3 meters, aim point. The most difficult thing is to make sure everybody's secure. The people, the dogs, everything. I think all of that happened. Well done, Magnus. I mean, the worst thing is we have to go back here.
Oh, but we don't have to do it right now.
We can take a day or two.
The branches are so thick, it's pretty much like free falling. You can just dive for it. It will catch you as you...
Yeah, very different from where we hunted the buffalo. Eh? No thorns, luckily. We can just crash through the bush. You don't have to worry about the rest.
I mean, literally I've been on my hands and knees most of the time, being so tall. I can't dive under the bushes, so I'm crawling, up again, walking. That's why I look like I'm swimming up on this mountain. The experience by itself was a pleasure to see. It's one of the most intense method of hunting I've been through. You have literally the animal 3-4 meters from you, and with that you have dogs and everything, so it's very unpredictable to see what's really going to happen in the next 2 seconds. Yeah. So you have to make fast calls, fast shots, and I think with this aims and everything, it makes it even.
Yeah, well, that's amazing. I mean, a couple of days ago we were hunting buffalo with exactly the same equipment, same rifles, same optics, H1 Aimpoint, and taking shots at 85 meters, 90 meters on buffalo. Today we took it on 3 meters on bush pig.
Yeah, exactly like you say, just because you have both eyes open, it's so much easier to take in the whole situation, and especially when you hunt like this, when everything is going chop chop, that's what you need. I came up to the hill and I was puffing and like a steam train. I was so tired. I was just holding my knees. And then he said, "Here we go," and I was, "No man, no we don't," and then, "Yeah, we do." Just took a dive.
Anybody organized as a chopper or anything?
We just wait for it, they will come eventually, I'm sure.
Okay, well, I'm sure there's some bacon and eggs waiting for us back home, so let's back up and go. What do you think about that part?
Yeah, I'm all with you.
Okay, let's get out of here.
With a successful hunt completed, the group of tired hunters made their way to the top of the hill, and luckily for Magnus, there were eager hands to help carry the boar.
Funniest thing of it all, and the dogs and everybody says to me, "Go to this spot, okay?" So I make it over there, and by then, of course, the pigs will be down pretty much where I were when I started, and vice versa, over and over again. So in the end, I was saying to myself, "Okay, let's go up. Let's go up and stand on top of the mountain." So when we finally come up there, and I ran into Louis, like pretty much like this way, just trying to catch my breath, and then
All of a sudden it's
there, so we just dived down the mountain and got the whole adventure. Perfect. Just a strange way to get there.
Brunch was ready back at the lodge, and with the first segment of the hunt completed, the next challenge on the African adventure was only hours away.